spirit energy is so strong, I can actually see his aura.
So if you've spent any time in the anime community online, you would know what the recently coined term aura farming means. But if you somehow don't, it basically just means someone doing something for the explicit purpose of looking cool. Aura basically being a numeric value for how many cool points you have. So someone with a lot of aura is of course very cool. Among the popular aura farmers of anime history, very few can contend with our very own Piccolo from Dragon Ball. The fit, the pose, the attack names, the dramatic entrance. Every move Piccolo makes is calculated to gain the max possible aura in any given circumstance. So in this video, I'm going to put a number to all of that aura. Essentially, we're going to go through all of Piccolo's appearances in the story and either increase or decrease his aura based on each scene. So, by the end of this video, we can finally quantify exactly how much aura Piccolo truly has. The way I'm going to score here is I'll grade each moment on our patented aura scale from 1 to 100. So starting out, in Dragon Ball episode 123, Piccolo is hatched, and the first thing he does is burn down the house of an elderly couple that tried to help him. Honestly, kinda cringe. In episode 124, we see baby Piccolo watching a happy family from their window. Yes, I'm literally covering everything. Feeling jealous, he ruins the kid's birthday party, trashing their house. Then, while running away from their dog, he trips before accidentally firing a ki blast at the dog. Gonna be honest, guys, this is a pretty negative aura moment. Jealousy? Running away? Tripping? Attacking a dog? Very negative aura scene. Looking at this, it's hard to believe this guy will go on to be the king of aura. But that's fine. Most kids don't have aura. He'll have time to recover. Next episode, we see the Piccolo fought a bear. Fighting a bear. Very plus aura. Then, he's confronted by some park rangers. Seeing they have guns, Piccolo can't resist the urge to bend it, then stops the other guy's bullets mid-air. Definitely a plus aura moment. Then, in episode 126, we see Piccolo casually walking across the ocean, catch a fish with a flick of his finger, casually kill some sailors looking at him funny, then eat his fish raw. Bro has seemingly learned the ways of aura quickly. And with that, we transition to the 23rd Tenkaichi Budokai. The day before the tourney, Piccolo arrives, and we see a boy and his mother about to be crushed by debris. But Piccolo snipes it out of the air, then hits his first ever aura farming pose on him. However, not wanting to come across as too nice, he casually stomps on the kid's toy on his way out. Masterful entrance from the king. Following that, the next day during the prelims, Piccolo engages Goku in a standoff. No words need to be exchanged. The standoff was all Piccolo needed to do to let Goku know he's come for his run back, shifting to a smirk before walking off. This is also, of course, when we need to discuss the iconic fit. He wears a sleeveless martial arts gi, so you know he's ready to throw down at a moment's notice. But of course we know the secret to true aura comes from his cape. The large shoulders granting him an imposing silhouette, while also granting him a passive aura buff in windy environments. And bruh, I would have never thought a turban was particularly cool before this, but it perfectly complements his cape, while also incorporating the purple from his gi, all brought together with his traditional Namekian Jordans. For most of the main tournament, Piccolo watches from the roof of the training building, as all good aura farmers know to take the high ground. Finally getting into his first proper fight, he descends onto the battlefield. Krillin puts up a respectable fight, but eventually, he asserts dominance by faking Krillin out several times with his cape. In the next fight, Kami tries to trap Piccolo with the Mafua, which would have worked on his father, but this Piccolo has way too much aura to be contained. Already preparing for such an event with a countermeasure to turn the technique back on Kami. That takes us into the grand finale, where Piccolo reveals the true purpose of his cape, the traditional shonen technique of throwing away an outer piece of clothing to signify that you intend to fight seriously. They go blow for a while, but eventually Piccolo threatens the crowd to stop Goku from avoiding his attack, which I would consider a pretty negative aura move. Such a tactic implies he isn't confident that his attack would hit normally, and as you know, aura and self-confidence go hand in hand. After that, they continue to go blow for blow in what might be the most intense battle in the series. Ultimately, Piccolo is defeated, and defeat is of course minus aura, but Piccolo's performance during this fight was more than admirable, so I think he maintains his aura here. Taking us into Dragon Ball Z. Or does it? I said I'm covering everything, and I meant it. We open on Piccolo doing some intense training, but he immediately gets jumped by the entire villain squad. Bro did not put up a fight. and gets folded instantly. However, he does return for his run back later on, accompanied by his sick-ass theme song, going on to low diff one of the goons. After that, while fighting Garlic Jr. with Goku, he removes his cloak again, but this time it's weighted for an even larger aura boost. You know, my own aura is heavily benefited by how many subscribers I have. People look at you different when they find out you have 20k subscribers. Now imagine if I could tell them I have 30 or 40k. Would be pretty cool. Now we can actually get into Z proper. Starting out, we see Piccolo standing on top of a mountain with his arms crossed. Raditz then shows up and disrespects Piccolo. At the risk of losing aura, Piccolo decides to kill him, but Raditz tanks his attack unharmed. A bit later, when Goku decides to go after Raditz, Piccolo addresses the group from the high ground and descends to make a truce. During the fight, Piccolo and Goku once again execute the cloak removal technique for an aura buff. Then, during the fight, while Bumku has been lazy, Piccolo has mastered a brand new impressive attack that he uses to take out both of his enemies at the same time. Unfortunately, while Raditz is dying, Piccolo tries to gloat, saying Goku's friends will revive him, not realizing the other Saiyans are listening in. Accidentally sharing info with the enemy is of course not a good look. Piccolo then decides to train Goku's son, and during that training, he casually vaporizes the moon, fueling the power scale community for decades. Following that, he commits to true aura farming. We see him telekinetically lifting a pyramid into the sky, or learning to control the wind so his cape can always dramatically flap behind him. Then he takes it to the extreme of twisting the land around him with raw wind power, all while meditating with his eyes closed. After mastering aura meditation, he tries to ascend past himself by separating himself into two with the multiform technique, so he can attempt to style on even himself. Meanwhile, Gohan goes through a journey to find his resolve, culminating in Piccolo, from the high ground, dramatically telling him to declare his mission, while using his newly acquired wind technique to control the waving of his cape. Later, while resting, Gohan is wholesome and says Piccolo's not such a bad guy, which forces him to lose his composure. That finally brings us into the big fight, where during the Cyberman battle, Piccolo casually vaporizes one of the men. Unfortunately, in this world, you either aura farm or get aura farmed, and in this case, the only farmer here is Nappa, dealing a major blow to Piccolo's aura. But when it looks like things are about to end for Gohan, Bro takes the hit for the homies, which is a max aura move. Unfortunately, he does die here, and as you know, dying is cringe, so he takes a minor aura penalty as well. And with that, we don't see Piccolo for a while, which means it's time for more movies. Just like last time, this one opens on Piccolo training in the mountains, who gets jumped by some knockoff Cybermen. But Piccolo puts a stop to their attack without even facing them, followed by him styling on them 1v4. Unfortunately, that's then followed by him getting jumped by a set of even stronger goons, taking him out. Then, for some reason, Gohan just leaves him there? Going back home and not even telling anyone about what happened? Later in the movie, it's revealed Piccolo has been mind-controlled by the enemy, which of course is a very negative aura kind of thing to let happen. But even under enemy control, he still knows the ways of aura, casually backhanding Gohan while not looking. Next up is the Tree of Might. We see Piccolo meditating in front of a waterfall, before later in the movie, where he pulls up to save Gohan, but unfortunately gets low diffed. He returns for the run back later, but gets low diffed even worse this time. Then once again he pulls up with the squad for a third try, only to get brutalized. You know, I at least respect the effort. Goku ends up clutching out the win, and Piccolo returns to his waterfall to try and recover some of his lost aura. Back in the main series, there's no noticeable aura fluctuation until his revival on Namek. He appears immediately on the high ground standing on business. On his way to the battle, he runs into Nail, who's so impressed by Piccolo's aura that he decides it would be best to just forfeit his own aura to further glaze Piccolo, which leads into his legendary pull-up on Frieza, assumedly wanting to show his protege Gohan how to make a proper entrance. They fight evenly for a while, but after recovering from one of Frieza's attacks unscathed, he telekinetically rotates a group of rocks around him, seemingly just to assert dominance. Then he reveals he's just been toying around with Frieza so far, and proceeds to dominate the fight. Frieza doesn't take too kindly to that, so he uses his full power as well to retake momentum, but Piccolo counters with his reserve technique of removing his cloak, so he can continue the disrespect. Now look at this from Frieza's perspective. You've just been styled on, not once but twice, for the first time in your entire life. So Frieza is rightfully displeased, forcing him into his next evolution, and not forgetting how dirty Piccolo just did him a moment earlier, Frieza rightfully returns the disrespect. After that, he's out of his depth for a while, but he does still clutch up later, stalling for time so Goku can fully charge the Spirit Bomb, which wasn't pretty, but he got the job done. Alright, time for Lord Slug, where we see Piccolo, who seemingly has been meditating by this waterfall since the end of the last movie, probably thinking of new ways he could style on his opponents. Unfortunately for him, Gohan shows up with his trash mixtape that breaks Piccolo's concentration. Later in the movie though, when Gohan is in trouble, Piccolo waits for the perfect opportunity to strike, masterfully intercepting them as they run in front of some dramatic lighting to accentuate his entrance. Finally learning his lesson, he doesn't allow the goons to jump him, leading one away so he can pick them off individually. Look at this man posing while he retreats, going on to crush this other man's entire arm. Then after the fight, the goon tries to appeal to Piccolo, so our guy hits him with the fake-out handshake into decapitation. Unfortunately for Big Green, his squad isn't pulling their weight, so he has to once again tank an attack for the homies. He gets put out of commission and Goku takes over, but seeing as our boy isn't able to close out the fight, he joins in with an ingenious plan. He rips his own ears off, then has Gohan play his trash mixtape to Slug. Piccolo goes on to share a fraction of his aura with his boy, so he can close out the match. Truly the MVP. Now it's time for the Revenge of Garlic Jr.'s revenge. Starting out, Kami can see how much aura Piccolo has accumulated, so he offers the position of God to Piccolo. But the responsibilities of being God would cut into Piccolo's aura farming. So without looking at Kami, Piccolo responds by blowing up a mountain and flying away. Later on, while Gohan is getting bodied yet again by another group of goons, Piccolo waits for the perfect opportunity to intercept. Of course, from the roof of Kami House, for the passive high ground aura buff. Unfortunately, Piccolo gets jumped yet again by the goon squad, then becomes mind-controlled for the second time. Or does he? In reality, this was all part of Piccolo's plan. He allowed them to think they low-diffed him, but really he was just pretending to be under their control so he could get close and rescue Kami, who his life is connected to, reverting all previous aura loss into aura gains due to his masterfully executed plan. After that, during his 1v1 with Garlic Jr., it seems like he's on the back foot, but once again Piccolo is just sandbagging. He then goes on to mock Garlic Jr. by buffing himself up just like him, then explains to him why his transformation is auraless. Going on to absolutely pummel Garlic. Unfortunately, while the fight is going on, auraless Kami is losing his life force, and due to Piccolo's connection to Kami, he loses some of his own aura in response. Luckily for him, all of his work training Gohan in the ways of aura have finally paid off. He's finally learned how to make an entrance, saving his master and securing the W in his place. Back in the main plot, Frieza's coming for revenge, and the gang is gathering. Piccolo of course takes the high ground, and even Vegeta has to respect his game. That leads into the 3-year time skip where we get Alright, Gohan gets jumped by the goons, check. Piccolo shows up last minute to dramatically save him, check. Then he gets jumped and taken out? Well, actually, no. They try to jump him like usual, but this time he just reverse jumps their entire crew, disrespecting the first guy with a cape fake out, followed by killing the second one with their own attack. Unfortunately, before he can finish off the last one, the boss shows up and takes him out. But at the end of the movie, after Goku takes out Cooler, it's revealed the last minion is still alive. So Piccolo secures the triple kill, finally taking out an entire goon squad by himself. That takes us immediately into the Revenge of Cooler's Revenge, where while fighting robots we see Piccolo perform an impressive septuple flip before building up a massive kill streak. It starts to look like there's too many robots, so Piccolo just lets them feel the full force of his aura. Next is Super Android 13, where Piccolo seemingly digs himself underground so he can rise up and reveal himself at the most dramatic moment, but Gohan nearly gets hit by a stray shot, forcing an early reveal. Then later on, just like in the Frieza saga, Piccolo redirects an attack that probably would have killed Goku while he charges up the Spirit Bomb. Then at the end, Piccolo tries to aura farm on a small iceberg, but since there's only one left, him and Vegeta try to aura farm on the same one, negating both their efforts. There, finally back to the main series. During the fight with the androids, once it looks like Goku is about to lose, Piccolo tries to jump in but gets one-shot, which looks bad, but it was all part of Piccolo's plan to get past 20 by pretending to be taken out. Unfortunately, Vegeta steals his intercept, and as a result, what might have been a good chance to aura farm was taken from him while also making him look bad. But a bit later, Piccolo tells Vegeta he needs to reclaim his lost aura by soloing 20, which he succeeds at very decisively, followed by him getting low diff for real this time against 17. We then skip forward a bit. Now despite Kami being a bit cringe, Piccolo understands is for the greater good and fuses with him before facing off with Cell, who tries to intimidate Piccolo with his horror movie aesthetic, but Piccolo remains unfazed, going on to hit Cell with this diabolical spin kick. Following that, Piccolo pretends to be defeated, so Cell will tell him his evil plan. After that, he gets his run back with 17, which ends up being one of the toughest 1v1s in the series. Later in their fight, Piccolo traps 17 in a minefield of ki blasts, which, fun fact, this was never a named technique. Only the video games call it Hellzone Grenade. Nevertheless, it's an example of Piccolo's exceptional battle IQ. They then go blow for a long time after that. A lot of people think Piccolo would have lost if their fight didn't get interrupted, but I'm not so sure. Piccolo still had enough power to throw out a massive ki blast against Cell, which likely could have taken out 17 if Piccolo was able to land it. Unfortunately though, this essentially marks the end of Piccolo's relevance in the main series for a long time. So let's dive back into the movies, with Broly the legendary Super Saiyan, where we see Broly absolutely wasting our boys. However, when Broly decides he wants to finish off Gohan, it's a Dragon Ball movie law that Piccolo will arrive in time to save him. So, the fabric of reality bends to allow for Piccolo to arrive in time, despite the fact that the movie takes place on a different planet and Piccolo was on Earth. Now in actuality, despite the dub cutting this out, in the original version, Piccolo says he overheard Goku's initial conversation with King Kai at the start of the movie, and complains about not being able to teleport. So, if we go through the plot from Piccolo's perspective, he essentially overheard Goku's conversation, then saw the crew go off to New Vegeta on Paragus' ship. Seeing the obvious trap, Piccolo goes to Dr. Briefs to secure a getaway ship, grabs a bag of sensu beans, then flies to the planet himself. Arrives just in time to bail out Gohan for the 100th time with his toughest pull-up game yet, tells Vegeta to stop being a bitch, and then, as the planet is being destroyed, everyone escapes on Piccolo's getaway ship. Truly the MVP. The crew has no idea how much work Piccolo puts in for them. Now approximately like 2 days after returning from the fight with Broly, we get Plan to Eradicate the Saiyans, where Goku and Gohan go off to put a stop to a mysterious new threat. As they go out, Piccolo shows up to assist. Goku asks him how he knew to come, and Piccolo essentially says, "Bitch, I'm God, I see all." He then goes to deal with one of the gas generators, and the goon he fights is so intimidated by his aura that he accidentally blows up his own landmines on himself, destroying the generator, meaning Piccolo's mere presence was enough to get the job done. After that, they go to fight the big boss, and as you know, it's Piccolo's contractual obligation that he must save Gohan at least once per film, so we get that here. Then, he once again was the only one to think of bringing sensu beans, which ends up giving the remaining squad enough energy to clutch out the win. Okay, one more. So in BoJack Unbound, everyone is fighting in a big battle royale style tournament. Once we get to the finals, we see Piccolo versus Krillin, where Piccolo doesn't face his opponent, nor even open his eyes. Piccolo's aura flusters Krillin so much that he nearly eliminates himself, and at the risk of losing some of his own aura, even being associated with the cringe lord Krillin, Piccolo chooses to just leave instead. Later on, when shit gets real, Piccolo waits in the background till he's needed to save Gohan and hit a tough pose. Unfortunately, this is where Piccolo seemingly just vanishes from the movies entirely, and to a lesser extent, the series as a whole. Oh wait, in Broly Second Come, no, false alarm, it's just Krillin. Yeah, for some weird reason, Piccolo just vanishes from the movies entirely after BoJack, not even appearing in the background. But it's worth mentioning Pikkon, who for all intents and purposes is just a Piccolo stand-in, gets a big role in movie 12, but generally Piccolo's just vanished. Now, you probably want me to cover the Buu saga and then also Super, but listen, you don't actually want that. My boy gets nothing but disrespect for years. I don't want to subject you or myself to that, so let's just pretend Super never happened. Sure, he gets some appreciation much later on, but we'd have to dig through so much sludge to get there. Let's just end off on a high note by remembering Piccolo becomes the Warden of Hell in GT, which is tough as hell. On that note, I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time.